Hey guys, this is Kita Bussey again with 180 Firearms Training. I am a movement coach and I also do vision training. So I recently made a video about the voodoo of the quiet eye and how it works, and my dumb butt kept putting my finger over the microphone. So this time, foolproof, got my headphones in so you can for sure hear me. I'm going to do the video again and explain the voodoo of the quiet eye. If you want quiet eye drills, they're in my book, Smart Move, Economy of Motion for the Shooting Sports. It's available on Amazon, or you can email me directly at 180firearmstraining@gmail.com if you'd like a personalized copy. So, the quiet eye, what is it? The quiet eye is research that was done on eye movement of elite athletes who have to aim. This was started in 2007, and Joan Vickers wrote a couple of textbooks on it, which I've read and applied to shooting and came up with my own drills using her concepts. So I will explain to you what I've learned from her textbooks. I will show you the eye movement to watch for, but first we need to talk about spots on targets. So here's our target. Now, typically, if you are an elite shooter, let's say your name happens to be Eric Graffel, your eyes are going to go directly to your spot. You are going to have one focal point. That means you're the best in the world. That's very, very hard to do well. For the rest of us, well, let's say I tell you to look at this target. Your eyes are naturally going to jump around on that entire target between multiple focal points, and that's how you take in the image of the whole target. Now, if you're aiming at the target, you're going to pick your spot on the target, and maybe your eyes still jump around between multiple focal points, but it's in a much smaller space. So that means your eyes are more still. They aren't moving as much. They're more quiet. And that's where the term quiet eye comes from. Now, the goal is to only have one focal point without your eyes jumping around at all. The most elite athletes who have to aim in the entire world will have one or two focal points, and they're able to block out any distraction from their peripheral vision. So how many times have you had a fly land on your target while you're shooting a stage? And where does that fly always land? Right on the delta. It's like they know. So what happens then, let's say you're a newer shooter. You're focused on your spot, you're about to hit that spot, you're pulling the trigger, just about to break the shot, and you see that fly down in that delta zone in your peripheral vision, and it pulls your eye to that fly. Now what do? They shoot the fly, right? They hit a delta. Then they're looking at this hole in the delta thinking, why did I just hit a delta? And they shoot another delta. So if you're a little bit more advanced than that, you're going to be looking at your spot here, the fly lands here, you see it in your periphery, and it pulls your eye to where that fly is. Then you correct for it, get back to your spot before you take the shot. If you're even more elite, your eyes will go directly to that spot. You're using the quiet eye, so you have one focal point, maybe two. Your eyes aren't jumping all over the place, so you're so focused on that spot, you will be aware of a fly landing in your peripheral vision on that delta, but it's not going to be enough to pull your eye to that spot because you have such intense focus. So that is what the quiet eye is. That is the goal, and it's very hard to do and very frustrating. So I'm going to show you what my eyes do. I'm going to pick a spot where the wall meets the ceiling, and I'm going to trace my eyes all the way along there. Now you're going to see my eyes jump from one spot to the next spot. Those are called saccades. During a saccade, you can't take in any visual information. So basically you're picking up your next spot from the periphery and jumping to that spot. Then you pick up the next spot from your periphery and jump to that spot. So it's important to train where you have targets set up in your peripheral vision so you can learn to pick up your spot on a target from your peripheral vision, which is also very hard to train. So watch my eyes. I'm going to trace them along this spot, and you're going to see the saccades. Do you see my eyes jumping from one spot to the next? So if you try that, feel your eyes jump from one spot to the next. That's what you do not want to feel when you are aimed at a target. Your eyes should feel completely still and very focused on that spot. Now that you've traced your eyes along a spot and you know what it feels like to have them jump, you can concentrate on not feeling that during your vision training. So now I'm going to look at some targets. I'm going to dart my eyes from one target to the next, and I want you to watch my eyes and see if you can spot any saccades. Then you need to try and do it faster and faster, because the more times you do this, the better you're going to get at it. Now, I am not one of the best shooters in the world, obviously, but somebody who is could drag their eyes across that spot, and they would hardly jump at all. It would be very smooth. For me, not being at that level, I have a lot of jumps, which means it's something I definitely need to work on. So here are my targets. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to dart my eyes between those targets. I'll start slow and try to speed up and see if I can catch myself having saccades. I'll switch directions. I felt one. I'll change the order again. There I felt one. There it was again. Going high right to low left, I'm feeling that I'm having a lot of saccades where my eyes are jumping around. So that tells me that practicing transitions from high right to low left diagonally is something that I should practice. So once you feel what it feels like, set up a drill, see if you can dart your eyes from not just the target, but from one spot on the target to the next spot on the target. And not only getting them to only pick one focal point without jumping around, but to take the most direct path from your spot on one target to your spot on the next. Now, another thing newer shooters do when they're having multiple saccades, multiple focal points, they get to the target and see the edge of it, and sometimes they'll just stop right there and hit a delta. They're just looking for brown. As they advance, they see the edge, and they know they still have to keep going, so then they have a saccade over to their spot on the target and engage it. Or sometimes you're aimed at your spot, but take your eyes off the target before you start pulling the trigger, and then you drag your shots across the target because your eyes are jumping to multiple focal points along this edge of the target. So as you advance, you want to try to keep from letting the edge of that target stop your eye and go directly to that spot, which is very hard to do. What you want to do is pick up that edge from your peripheral vision so that during the saccade, you're crossing past it and land directly on the spot. Oh, Timothy Koo,